Welcome back on this Monday. As hope everyone had a great weekend. If not, we're going to get you started with a great week. Charlie Miller's joined us and Alec Lasley as well from thehoosier.com. Thanks, guys, both for jumping on. Charlie, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Cannot complain. Alec,
Good.
How's it going?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Good, man. Good.
Great weekend of grassroots basketball still going on in Indianapolis while we had the Big Ten football media days going on as well. A lot of guys out and about. Indiana staff kind of split up. The Peach Jam still going on. Another week of that left down in Atlanta. And then these events that you covered up in Indianapolis.
Yeah, it was the last live evaluation period for college coaches, so they were out and about. They spent the majority of their time last weekend down in Peach Jam. Then a couple of the IU targets, either in CJ Gunn, obviously committed, broke his wrist, so he was done for the summer. And then Jalen Hood-Schifino ended up testing positive for COVID, so then his week was done. So the staff kind of shifted more towards a few of the Indy events this past weekend. Ton of guys, Xavier Booker, Jalen Hooks were at the Pangos event in Indy. Then you had the Prep Hoops event, which I was at for a little bit. I saw a little bit of Reed Shepard, Gabe Cups. And then you also had a couple other events going on with some out-of-state guys as well, and Owen Freeman kind of around the area too. So there were a ton of different guys that Indiana's coaches saw in-state and out-of-state, and it kind of capped off what was their first live evaluation periods this summer. And obviously a very good weekend all in all, also securing a commitment from Kaleb Banks. So for the Indiana staff, it was a very good weekend to kind of cap off the summer before they head off to the Bahamas here in a few weeks.
I just saw that Tim mentioned that IU is not listed in Philip Kowski's top 8 already right now. So is that something you expect to change?
I think Indiana, over the past few weeks, there wasn't a whole lot going on between Philip Kowski and Indiana. That's just a recruitment that seems to be going in a different direction. Not sure that Indiana is going to do much to kind of get back involved there. They still have a few other guys that they're actually looking at for that similar position. Obviously, they just got Kaleb Banks as well. So they're not starving for talent. They still have a lot of good talent that's going to be on the roster in the coming years, but they also still have a lot of good talent that is still in that 2022 class that they're pursuing, and that they have a really good shot at securing commitments from. So that's just one that happened to go the other way. I don't think people need to look too far into that one. Obviously, the staff isn't going to be able to get everyone that they put their hands on, but they've done a pretty good job doing that up to this point. So I know it is a shock when Indiana isn't going to be involved from step one in the process to when they eventually make an announcement.
The name that I keep looking at is Reed Shepard, because I'm like, there's just no way I can imagine Indiana having a legit shot at this guy, mainly because he's a Kentucky legacy with his dad, Jeff Shepard, having played for the Unforgettables for Rick Pitino and still living in London, Kentucky. And I know today that doesn't always matter with kids, and Charlie knows that more than anything. He's around kids every day. It's what he does. But, man, that Indiana-Kentucky thing, it's still real. And I just think there's enough of a barrier that would just be a hard barrier to break, but it's not unbreakable, I guess.
Well, I would say it's unbreakable, and I mean ties have changed. I mean, legacy, tradition, yes, still is something that's important, but I think now it's all about putting yourself in the right situation, with the right coaching staff and a coaching staff that's going to have your future ideas in mind, and telling you the truth up front and honesty and transparency. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it'll just ring bells for a day or two. But if he becomes an IU player, I don't think anybody bats an eye at it. That's just my take on it.
Alec?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing to kind of talk about when it comes to a Kentucky-Indiana kind of rivalry, and especially when you're looking at a kid who's still a couple classes out. He's in the 23 class, so a lot can happen between now and then. But I think if this was an old IU staff, there's absolutely no shot they wouldn't have offered him in the first place. Exactly. But I think everything with Mike Woodson, what he's doing is he's not only getting his name out there. Obviously, his name's already out there as a player and as a coach, but in the college ranks, he's trying to insert himself into every top prospects recruitment. And you look around the country, and a lot of the top programs and top coaches do that year in and year out. And you're going to cast a wider net when it comes to offers, something that the previous staff didn't do. And that kind of obviously hindered them and hurt them later on in the most recent classes. So as long as you're continuing to stay involved in all these top recruitments, all it takes is one guy who may be a legacy at another school to say, hey, I really like what Mike Woodson is doing. I like what he's talking about. I like his development. And Jim, you're the first person to kind of talk about John Calipari's development or lack thereof with players. So especially with the amount of guards that Kentucky seemingly always has in their rotation year in and year out, Indiana's going to be a little bit less guard heavy in the next few classes. And we know that's a huge emphasis and a priority for the next few classes, especially when you look into the class of 2023, when you're not going to have Rob Finney. Christian Lander's kind of up in the air. Xavier Johnson's not going to be there anymore. Who knows what's going to happen with Tamar Bates? So you still have a lot of question marks around point guards, where Kentucky's going to bring in 3 to 5 guards almost in every single class, whether it's a transfer or commitment. So I think that's the biggest thing that you can look at Indiana now is they need shooting, they need guards, and they need big-time players. And if you're in the Midwest, you're going to be interested in Indiana moving forward no matter what. So I think there's still a lot more there than maybe what people are kind of looking at just surface level right now.
One thing that they did get is Kaleb Banks, as while the Big Ten football media days were going on, that commitment was announced. A kid from Georgia. 3-star, 6'8", 215, small forward, I guess, slasher. I haven't really seen him play, but tell us about him.
Yeah, he kind of plays. He'll be a very similar positional player to what Justin Smith was at Arkansas last year. So a guy who can still step out, shoot a little bit from the outside, but obviously sees most of his work kind of from the free throw line extended and then in. Really terrific defender. Good, versatile athlete who can play a few different positions, but more importantly, guard a few different positions, which Indiana is definitely looking for. But yeah, he's just a super athletic, long, lanky guy who's going to be able to make an impact. Probably not immediately, but one of these 3-4 year guys who is going to make a big time dent, not only in the Indiana lineup, but in the Big Ten. And he's someone that I think Indiana was pretty much in the driver's seat for ever since the new staff took over and Yazir Rosemond got that assistant coaching spot. That relationship with Kaleb Banks was one of the bigger reasons why he ended up choosing Indiana. And I think that commitment was a little bit earlier than they thought. I don't think many people thought he was going to commit right away, right now. There was a lot of talk that it was going to be sometime this fall, and it was going to end up being Indiana, but I'm not sure anyone thought that he was just going to pull the trigger right before this last evaluation period, which obviously he ended up doing.